Oh, Dallas Stars fans. That was not the game that we had anticipated. That the fans thought the team did not really show up all that great against the Dallas or against the Toronto Maple Leafs. But as the start of every video, we go over the past predictions. Quinn, you said if Dallas were to come on top, it would be at a score of 3-1. But you said if Toronto was going to come on top, you predicted right. You said 4-1 would be the score if Toronto was going to pull out a win. Now, I also said that if Toronto was going to win, I also said that Dallas was only going to get one goal. But I did say in the past video that if Toronto was going to win, it was going to be on the back of their goaltender. And that is what they proved. But I also said if Dallas were to win, they'd win 6-2. But that's in the past. We don't care about that one.
Yeah, that was a high prediction right there.
So, dating back to 2008 is the last time the Dallas Stars have gone into Toronto and pulled out the win. With how this Toronto team going into last night's game, they only had one win. And guess who that win was against?
I'm going to say Reimer.
No. I'm talking about their team this season.
Nobody cares about that.
I'm just saying the last team that Toronto beat was the Columbus Blue Jackets. Yes, that horrid team that started off 0-8. One of those 8s was to the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this had trap game written all over it. All over it. I mean, it's the first game of the road trip. Dallas is coming off 2 great comeback victories in Dallas, and so I had the feeling that we would probably see Dallas come in and maybe be too big for their britches, which I don't think was the case all around, but Dallas ultimately shit the bed. The struggles started pretty early in that game, and one of the players that I had highlighted talking to you yesterday was Oduya. What did you think of Oduya and pretty much the defense from the beginning of the game?
What defense?
Hey,
I mean, it seems like the only player who actually came to play was Klingberg and Dimmers.
Yeah, I did notice.
Oduya, I don't know what was happening with Oduya. Oduya's game just went all to hell.
Yeah, I did notice that Klingberg was having a strong game probably through the first 2 periods. I think in the third period, play started getting away from him a little bit, but I think the play got away from every Dallas Star in the third period. So we had this talk last video about the goalies and who we thought would be in net for this game. Were you surprised that Niemi was in net?
Not really.
I also
I think they're starting to roll with who's winning, who's hot.
Yeah,
I kind of had wished that they hadn't done that, but you know.
Yeah, I had also. I would have liked to have seen Lehtinen in this game. I think this was a game more designed for Lehtinen to come in, just because of. I figured this could have been a good confidence booster. And with them going with Niemi, I wasn't upset, but I mean, I understood why Niemi was out there. He's hot, so ride the hot goalie. But I really would have liked to have seen Niemi been the goalie in for Boston. Kari has not always had the best games against Boston, even though we did have a big game last year in Boston. But I would have liked to have seen Lettinen get the start in, especially with last year's 2 mishaps against the Leafs. I would have loved to have seen Lettinen in to try to, say those were fluke games, but evidently they weren't fluke games. But let's go into the goals. So Brad Boyes scores about 10 minutes into the first period, and ultimately it was one of the first true soft goals that Niemi really gave up. Most of the goals that Niemi was giving up was from deflections or hitting off bodies, or hell, his defenseman taking him out of the play. I mean, there was never any time to where someone truly just outright beat him. I guess you could go all the way back to the Colorado game that some of those goals he just got beat on. But it's been a long time, and Niemi really hasn't given up soft goals. But then a minute later, you see Ben coming down and really taking... the Stars respond a minute later. I mean, it was one of those games to where, the opposing team scores. No change there in how the Stars have been playing. And then the Stars responding very quickly. I mean, it was Stars hockey all the way through the first half of that period. But then when we highlighted Oduya, it was off of just that little dump out into front of the net where Brad Boyes comes in and he just does a little sweeping wrap around Niemi to score. First, what was Oduya thinking right there? You never go in front of the net. It doesn't matter how secure you really feel that play is. 9 times out of 10, that's what happens. I mean, and Demers wasn't even paying attention to understand that pass was coming to him. Granted, it did look like he wasn't trying to put as much on it as he did, but still, I think it was a terrible, terrible call on his part to try to even do that play with all of the pressure that the Leafs were having on the Stars at that point. But another thing that we talked about in last video was about the coach's challenge. Now, last game, a lot of Stars fans were up in arms about because of the length that the San Jose Sharks had gotten. But then you see the very next game, Dallas does their very first coach's challenge, and they win the challenge. It takes back a goal. Something that you would think would bring momentum back to the Stars. And you saw a bunch of Stars fans talking about, oh, this is such a good outcome for the coach's challenge and everything like that. But, a lot of people last game were like, no, they should do away with this. So what did you think about the coach's challenge this time around? Granted,
I mean, there's not really much to say. They saw an opportunity to use it, they used it, and they got it overturned.
But do you think it's fair that Dallas ultimately got to review that play, even though that offsides happened like a minute, maybe 30 seconds prior to the goal? I mean, do you think that's ultimately fair?
I mean, that's what according to the rules now, yeah. I do think it's fair. Will they review the rules for next season and come back with amendments to it? Of course.
Right.
And I feel like this would be something that would be brought into it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that a statute of limitations is going to get placed on the rule. I think, a lot of people were questioning that since it was like 30 seconds or like a minute prior, I mean, but people still have to realize if that play got called down offsides from the get-go, a minute later, the Stars could have taken that face-off and gone down and scored themselves. So we don't know the outcome. So it's only fair that both teams get that opportunity to have a review like that. A player that I want to highlight for the better part of the game is our buddy from past videos, Valeri Nichushkin. He actually looked like he was alive in this game. I don't know if it's the thought of being in Toronto, in the hockey universe. You know, hockey is pretty much everything in Toronto. It's where everything is based in the NHL. I don't know if if he really thought this was the game that he was going to come to, but he looked alive. He had spring, he had spunk, he had drive. I mean, it goes to show on that penalty shot that he is starting to get his game back. It's so much slower than we had anticipated, but it really looks like he's starting to understand hockey again. And that only says good things about the Stars' future this season. What'd you think of Nichushkin's play in the game?
I mean, it was good. It's been a lot better than it's been in previous games. But I mean, he's still not up to snuff, which I feel like he'll get there in a couple of games.
No,
I really like the fact that he's playing on the third line now. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people won't agree with me on this prediction, but I feel that Nichushkin is a perfect third line forward to round out our team.
Well, it does take away the fact that he won't be really going up against the better players of the opposing team. So it leaves him a little more leeway to actually come out and maybe dance around and use his body up against bottom six forwards. I think it...
And you look at the players that he's playing with now with Eakin and Janmark, and Janmark and Nichushkin both have that speed as they display in the game, and you have Eakin, which is like one of the better two-way forwards in probably the league.
No, I would agree. Eakin, I think, is known as a good distributor, even though he's had some really good sniper time goals. But I consider him as more of a distributor than anything. And with Nichushkin, I really think that you'll see Eakin with the puck a lot. And then Nichushkin will be able to drive to the front of the net or get the puck off of the corner, off a wall, and then use his speed to barrel in. I think I also agree that Nichushkin, as of right now, is a perfect third line winger, and I think that's where he needs to stay until he proves himself otherwise, that he can come and play with the top six. Now, a player that I talked about in the last video was Fatska. I said, and I guaranteed his first goal was going to come against the Maple Leafs. It just felt like a game that if Dallas was firing on all cylinders, this was going to be the game to get it. And he had two amazing chances. Two great chances. Not only did he have a breakaway, but it was a short-handed breakaway. And it was one of three posts that Dallas hit throughout the night. Tyler Seguin, Radek Fatska, and Alex Goligoski all had three posts in the game that could have turned the game around. But you know what? That is what the hockey gods said. You get posts instead of goals, and that's just how hockey goes sometimes. Let's talk about Dallas's game and how this is the first game that Dallas came in and finished the game with under 5 turnovers. Yeah, I'm not mistaken. Dallas had under 5 turnovers, or at least under 5 was credited to them. Under 5 turnovers in this game.
I kind of don't believe that.
Well, I'm going off the stat sheet, but and they still came out with a loss. There's really no way of really explaining it. I mean, even you in the last video that I went and listened to again, I remember you saying that if Dallas were to come in and really clean up the turnovers, you said Dallas would be a guarantee win. Well, they cleaned it up, but didn't have the execution going on to it.
Well, what really screwed them over in everything, yeah, they may have limited the turnovers, but their defensive play was so horrendous, they didn't deserve to win that game anyways.
Yeah, that's true. But I want to bring up again, for my argument over Alexiak versus Nemeth, 2 of the goals, Nemeth's fault. I mean, you look at it on the first goal, Brad Boyce is sitting in front of Niemi. Nobody knows he's there, and who's on the ice? Jordy Ben and Nemeth. They don't take a second to look behind them or anything. That was Jordy Ben's. That was Jordy Ben's man.
It doesn't matter. Nemeth. You see Nemeth whenever the puck comes to Jordy Ben, he starts skating away from the front of the net. If he recognizes that there's somebody there, he doesn't do that. And on the power play goal with Joffrey Lupul, he completely leaves the front of the net, which as a defenseman you are taught never to do if your partner's back there.
Right.
If there's anybody back there, you never leave the front of the net.
No, I completely agree.
Joffrey Lupul has all the time in the world to get a shot off.
Did you have any more on that?
He's just... I don't agree with him being on the NHL roster right now.
Well, I mean, you do have to get him in games, and this game, I think it should have been perfect for him to come in and settle down and really try to find his game. Do you not agree? I mean, I understand that you're banging the drum for Alexiak, but this is a game right here. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Alexiak is in tonight's game against Boston, because it's the big bad Bruins, and you're going to want big bodies in there. I completely understand if Alexiak's in this game, but I think last night's game against Toronto would have been the perfect game for Nemeth to come in and really shine and find that his early seasons, success from past seasons. But
yeah, you would think that too, but I honestly think he did worse in this game than he did in the Florida game that he played in.
Really? Well.
Oh yeah.
Oh well. I guess because you're highlighting that he was on the goal for 2. He was on the ice for 2 of those goals, so I can understand that. But again, we have to talk about Dallas's losses. So Dallas this season, along with turnovers and little things like that, the motto of this team has been, we are going to outplay the strongest teams in the NHL, but we're going to play like crap against the weaker teams, because I have no reason to put in that, because it's a blank spot. I don't understand why Dallas continues to play so bad against teams that are struggling. Now, the Colorado game, I think, should have an asterisk against it because we didn't know that Colorado was going to be as bad as they are. And Florida is playing better hockey. Of the 3 losses that the Stars have, of the teams that the Stars have lost to, Florida is the best one with 5 wins. The other 2, I mean, the 3 teams that they've lost to are combined 10, 8, and 5. The shining grace in that record is Florida at 5 wins. The other 2, 5 wins a piece for them. And when Anaheim came in a couple of games ago, Dallas got down 3-0. I don't understand how this team can shine so bright against hockey's elite teams and then really crap the bed against the basement dwellers. I mean, do you have any thoughts on why that would be? I mean, do you think it's their ego, or do you think they're not preparing the same way against the lesser teams? Well, not lesser teams, but struggling teams.
I definitely don't think they're preparing the same way, but I mean, you would think that they would take the same precautions for each team, but you know, I don't go to their practices, so I don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, each team comes with a different format for a game, but it just seems like this is Stars hockey as of right now, is that when we're getting a team that struggles, Dallas is going to struggle. That's the night that Dallas picks to struggle as well. And I really don't understand, and it's something that, and hell, it plagued the Stars last season as well. Like, the teams that were considered the struggling teams, I mean, granted, Dallas was one of them. Dallas just never showed up to play. But granted, this is the NHL. These are professional teams. Any team can win on any night. I understand that. But with Dallas's strengths and the offense that we have and the goaltending that we now have, there should be absolutely no brainers that we should have wiped the floor with the Maple Leafs. But they didn't. And a big reason is Reimer. Dallas Stars put 44 shots on him and only get 1 past him. And we can't say that it's not all the shots were outside, or, you know, no, the Stars got in, and they got in good. They just lacked the execution. You had Tyler Seguin right there on the doorstep, right there on to the left, I believe, of Reimer, and he can't beat him. I mean, well, he beats him, but he hits all bar. You have the tip by Alex Goligoski, that slow rolling puck that would have beat Reimer, but it hit iron. It hit dead on iron, that as soon as it hit it, it kind of just stopped. Reimer was excellent in the shots that he did see and the shots that he didn't see. I mean, he had the horseshoe, a 4-leaf clover, a lucky rabbit's foot in his jock. He had everything that ultimately let the Maple Leafs win. And, you know, all credit goes to Reimer. But I guess we also have to credit Nazem Kadri to drawing all those penalties as well. That's something that he is famous for in Toronto land. And, you know, some of calls were kind of going both ways. I mean, we had Stars fans were up in arms about the JVR interference on Alex Goligoski in the neutral zone. But you know what? On that JVR drive that he had on Niemi with Klingberg right on him, JVR did grab his stick, and that neutralized Klingberg's chance of even really getting anything on that stop attempt. But I mean, Dallas had some cheap shots in there. You know, let's not forget Jamie Benn and his infamous little cup check. You know, we all love Jamie Benn. We do, and he plays with a certain grit to him. But as a captain of an NHL franchise, that's unacceptable. You can't do stuff like that and expect to get it away. And that's not the first time Jamie Benn has done something like that. Granted, it's happened to Jamie Benn as well, yes. But this is stuff that, you know, Jamie Benn is not innocent. You know, should he have punched Nazem Kadri? Well, Nazem Kadri punched him because he got the cup check. So, you know, Jamie Benn started it, and I'm not saying Jamie Benn starts it all the time. I'm just saying Jamie Benn is not an angel. You know, he plays with that grit, and Stars fans have to realize that. Oh, with that game ending, let's get the rating of the Stars loss to the Maple Leafs. What rating did you give the Dallas Stars in last night's game?
I would say a very strong D+.
Oh, D+. Okay. I wrote down D. It's a hard D. Yeah, I said it. All puns included. You know, they had some fight, but ultimately Niemi let in too many soft goals. Defense was terrible. Execution wasn't there. Even though the Stars cleaned up turnovers, they outshot the Toronto Maple Leafs full circle. But in the end, it was not good enough, and they did not play good enough. So they get a strong D rating out of me. Now, let's go into predictions for the next game. Against the Boston Bruins, Tyler Seguin goes back into Boston. What predictions do you have?
Well, if the Dallas doesn't bring up their defensive game, I believe that it'll probably be around the same score, like I'll say 5-2, Boston. If Dallas does manage to get its act together with with whichever goalie they're going to go with in Boston, each one are kind of slumping. I'd probably say 3-2 if Dallas wins.
So you think Dallas can actually keep the score under 2?
That's me hoping.
Now, I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say the score, if Dallas wins, it's 6-2 last game. I'm going to go 4-2. Dallas seems to like those types of games. If Boston wins, it's because Kari Lehtinen is in net. Kari Lehtinen lets in soft goals. Boston out-hits Dallas. And I'm going to say Boston wins 3-1. There you have it. Those are the predictions. Keep an eye out for those scores. This is the end of Game 12's discussion. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe, share, do all those things. It helps us out a ton. And as always, be sure to look out for the next discussion video. We will see you next time.